What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the After Bedtime Podcast, brought to you by the Black American Dad Foundation. And it's true, we got another one, another great Black American dad. This one's coming from us, born originally in Berkeley, correct? So, I believe that's where, but currently in Los Angeles, a little bit more south. Content creator, musician, all around artist, all around great father. Marty Grimes. Marty, say what's up to the sweet people.
What's good, family, man? Appreciate you for having me. It's Marty Grimes, like you said. I come from the Bay Area, Berkeley, California. Yeah, I'm down in La La Land, man, supporting the dads, just advocating.
And we love to see that. So, hey, Marty, why don't you tell the people how many kids you have? What kind of give us like a whole backstory of like you as dad.
Shoot, me as dad, I got one kid, one boy, love him to death. The light of my life. But I am the oldest of seven. So I will say, like, looking after a little one and like feeling that similar love, it's been all my life. You know what I mean? As far as a bedtime, it's all over the place. My little one is 3. I try and get him to bed at a decent time, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. But sometimes we might have a movie night. He might have took a longer nap than expected. We might be up a little later, but he ain't got to be up for school, so it's all good.
Right. Right now, I have a 14-month-old and my oldest boy is 11. So I put my oldest boy to bed usually like school nights, 9 o'clock. Like, all right, man, like you got to go to sleep. You got to get up at like 6. So we'll put him to sleep. But then I'll hear him up. And it's like, it's different when they get to 11, man. I'm trying to tell you. It's like 11 is like basically now like a teenager. So he'll be up. I catch him playing video games with his friends. So many different things, man. Like, it's like you have to put him to bed several times, like my 14-month-old. That's what I was bringing it to. Is like, because my 14-month-old, put him to bed at 7. Then he wakes up a little bit. You got to give him back his binky. He'll go back to sleep. Then he wake up again. Then you got to give him his binky. He'll go back to sleep. But this older one, it's like, no, I got to go in and be like, yo, go to bed. Yo, go to bed. Hey, please go to bed. Hey, I'm going to take the Xbox
away the video
out
games.
of the room.
Take away the video games.
Yeah, it's like, all right, bro, I'm going to take the Xbox if you're going to do this. And finally, like, he'll go to sleep. Shout out to Cohen. We love you, Cohen. So, yeah.
I'm actually excited for those times, man.
Yeah, listen, the thing that you're at 3. So 3 is a lot of fun. 5 is, to me, the best so far. 5 was the best. 5 is pre-kindergarten, innocent, still coming out of that toddler, and you are still the greatest thing since anything that has existed in their life. So that's when it gets great. Then when school comes around and they have to do school, they're moody a little bit more and stuff. And then when they turn, I'd probably say my son probably did it a little bit earlier, but like now it's like, I'm not cool anymore. It's like, hey, dad, like, can you just drop me off at the corner? Like, I'll walk the rest of the way to school. Like, you don't have to like, or you try to give him a hug and it's like, wait. I'll see you later.
Hold on, bro.
Oh, yeah. It's like, oh, it's like that now. Like, I don't get to hold your hand no more. It's like, nah, bro. No, we're not doing that. It's like, okay. So it is great though.
I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna try and be the cool dad.
That's what I try to do. But then, like, you know what? Maybe you're cooler than me because when I try to, I guess I'm not cool because the 6'7" thing is popular with my oldest son right now. And it's like, he's like, oh, 6. And I tried to do it one day, just trying to be funny. And I was like, oh, like 6'7". And he was like, don't ever do that again. So I was like, my bad. I thought I was trying to be cool. And then he just had a banquet for his football team. Like they finished up and they had a banquet, all the kids and stuff. And so it was one of my first times meeting all his friends at school. So I was going up, I was like, hey, what's up, man? Like, I'm Cohen's dad. And like, he's like, dad, like, you got to chill. You saying hi, like way too excited. I'm trying to be nice. I'm like, hey, what's up? How you doing? And he's like, you are way too excited right now and you need to relax. And I was like, all right, bro, I'm not going to say nothing.
You know what's funny though? That's real because I sometimes feel like that. Like the whole 6'7" thing, I was like, I don't even, I'm not on it. And then shoot, bro, 11 is like 8 years from now. It ain't no telling what's gonna be new. I'm gonna for sure be the uncool dad.
Exactly, because I was like I tried to get him to explain it to me. I'm like, what is 6'7"? He's like, I don't know. It's like 6'7". I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And like, yet it's like that. I was like, that makes no sense. Like, so it was 8, 9. How about that? Like, let's just start doing that. 1, 2. I don't know. Like that. There's so many things now. But then you think about us as 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, like our parents didn't really, and we didn't want to really kick it with our parents. We didn't really want to be around them. We didn't want, like, they were so old school in their mind thinking, and like, it's just interesting being in that stage now of like life where it's like, yo, I guess like this is just it. Like this is just where I'm at. And so each stage presents itself. I'll tell you right now, 5 is the
Yep.
best. That's the peak that I've seen so far. Maybe you can ask some other dads and see what they think. But 5 so far has been the absolute best.
That's a good question to raise though. What year do you think has been the funnest in your
Yeah.
son's or daughter's life
What was
growing
your
up?
what was your prime year? Like you're in the league or something like that. What was your like your prime year as dad? Okay, so we got to keep going. We can't keep talking about this. So tell a little bit, like, I mean, you obviously, like, a lot of people, if you haven't heard his music, a lot of people have heard his music. If you look at his Spotify, you can see a lot of people have heard his music. Tell the people a little bit about like
Love.
yourself as like a musician. Where did you get that kind of spark from? Did that come from you in your upbringing? You had 6 siblings, so like that's a crazy household. Was there a lot of artistic expression in the household?
Well, honestly, it was from my parents and my grandparents. So my mother, when growing up, she was in like a rock funk band. She was a singer. At the moment, I had a stepdad, and he was the electric guitarist. My grandmother is a violinist. Like she's done the Million Man March. She's like gotten flown all over the world to do music, done shit with Exhibit, etc. Like she's just saucy. So I grew up seeing it all, and just like being in the studio, being in the background, being at the gigs, the the what play studios, etc. But when I started like when I was 6, so I started first grade, I picked up a trumpet, you know what I mean? And that's when I started to actually play with my grandmother. So I actually did jazz music, and then I was in the choir prior to even rapping and whatnot. I also took the spoken word, just poetry, so I just wrote. Next thing you know, I get to high school and I meet G-Eazy, Gerald, who were just homies. But I wrote, but I never even I did rap previously, hopped in a booth for fun, with friends, etc. at home
Yeah.
because we had it, but I never took it quote unquote seriously. It was a hobby. But then I met him and he was real serious about it. And the hobby just slowly became more of like, okay, this might actually be my career and I'm loving it this much because I played sports then. Like every sport I played, that was my dream. Me and the boys growing up, my homies, I be on me kufu, shout them out those basketball dreams, bro. We either hooping or we about to play football or soccer. I did baseball, etc. But it all took a turn, and then just music became literally my everyday. Started to go on tour, supporting the bro, and then made a bunch of connects, and then I was able to find different ways to actually sustain my life from music. You know what I mean? Being independent, a bunch of personal relationships, handshakes, and it's still working. And I went to school for audio engineering, so I do all my own recording at the crib, do a lot of my own edits, and then I just send it to my bro Kevin, who I met in college, and he'll just mix it and master it up for me. So yeah,
So
it's
you're
been a
kind of like
smooth
a one
process.
man show in that regard. Like you kind of like are a one man show with your like productions and everything like that. So what is the thing that kind of sticks out the most to you about like why music? Like why is it the family connection, or for you is it more than that? Like what is something that you take away personally from being able to make music to share with the world?
I think for me, it's more of like therapy, because I don't really need recognition from it. I don't really care if people like it or dislike it. It's cool when they do, you know what I mean? But honestly, I just make it for me. I always remember why I made music in the beginning. I just wrote music that was about my life, what I went through, things that could help, etc. It was kind of like well, kind of just like a relief, like when you got so much in your mind and the only way to get it out is put it on paper. Well, for me, it was kind of like get it out by recording it, turn it into something that I can hear and feel good about versus something that's just like clouding my mind constantly. You know what I mean? But definitely family helped a ton. My upbringing, just being around it, they definitely fed it a whole bunch. My dad would connect me with everybody possible. At fucking 15, I don't know how we got in there, but Chuy Gomez was at a homie spot just randomly DJing, and Chuy Gomez was one of the biggest DJs in the Bay at 106 KMEL, so me and Gerald was in there juice, like 15 years old, baggy ass clothes, performing in the living room, off a fucking boombox, you know what I'm saying? So it was just so much stuff that made it make sense. And then it worked, bro. Like it wasn't even something in high school where I was really like, yeah, this is gonna be my career. 'Cause like I said, I was focused on sports, but then it just, man, went that way, and it worked. I've had a great career.
And you say that music, like, I mean, like music is therapy. And I think art in a broader scope is therapy for a lot of people, like artists themselves that are like, whatever it is that their expression is. Um, and you use it as a way to kind of, express things throughout your life. Is that something you mentioned a lot about your dad and like your relationship with your dad as it like pertained to music? Is that something that you saw in your dad, that it was kind of a therapeutic expression for him too as well?
Well, no, so my dad didn't make music. He's an artist in the kitchen. So my stepdad,
Got you. Okay.
ex-stepdad, who was with my mom, was the guitarist. But my dad, he just, great guy. Everybody knew him. I think that's kind of what, fed into me. But when he saw what his child was doing, like growing up, my dad fed everything I was doing. If I wanted to do basketball, baseball, if I wanted to ride a bike, if I wanted to do this, do that, he just did everything to make it happen. Even if he didn't have it, he figured out a way to make it happen. You know what I mean? So on his end, when he found out I was making music, he just connected those dots. But he's the artist in the kitchen, bro. He's a pastry chef. Like, that's why I have munchies and a love for sweets, bro. He makes, I'm telling you, apple pies, sweet potato pies, peach cobbler, man,
Oh
all the
man.
cakes, 7-Up cakes, everything you could think of, bro. So that's why I do
Man.
the munchies. But that's why I'm a little chef. You know what I mean? It skipped me, went to my little brother. He's the chocolate sugar. He does
But
all
it
the
nicked
shit.
you a
But
little bit. It
I
seems
got
like
the
it might have
small
nicked you
trickle.
a little
Yeah, I
bit.
got
I
the
got a little
small
bit of
trickle
it.
down. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I
But
will
that's,
say
I
art
mean,
travels through the family, but
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
no, pastry, I mean, baking and like in general, like that's like an artistic expression even too in itself. But like I love that it sounds like your dad was like, he was a champion for you, and he just wanted whatever you were going to try to do, he was
Yeah.
going to try to find a way to help you do that. And I think that that's almost a foundational like principle of being a dad, right? Like when you become a dad,
Mm-hmm.
you think about it from like, people always ask you, oh, what sports do you want your kid to play, or what do you want your kid to do? And like, I think the real ones are really like, I don't really care about that. I more so just want them to do whatever they want to do to the best of their ability. Like and that's it. I'm not going to force them to play basketball or run track or do things like I played sports too. And like, you think you want those things, but like at the same time, you're like, nah, I don't. I would rather you if you wanted to be like, I want to be a baker. Like, dope, man. Like, let's figure out how we can do that. Like, is there things that you
Yeah.
see in your 3-year-old now that he's kind of grown interest to?
Man, honestly, everything that I do.
Yeah.
Like, he just, because I have fun with everything I do with him. Okay, but I'll say the most is, and it's not even because I've been in music, but I got him drums, a little like drum kit, little kid one. So as he was growing up, he would always play with that, even though he'd be biting the sticks. And now he's older, I got him a better one, and I got him a piano and a little guitar, and he's just all about it. Like, I playing Michael Jackson, and he just goes off. You know what I mean? So I think that's taken the most, man. It's just the music. Like, I take him
Yeah.
outside. He loves to play. Like, we'll go kick the ball around. We'll shoot a little bit, but you give him them drumsticks, and if I don't tell him to stop, he can go for hours. Like,
Man.
you know
So
what
it
I
seems
mean?
like
So
that
it's
music
pretty tight to
bug,
see.
that
That's what's
music bug has
next.
got all y'all. Like, it just seems like it went through the entire kind of family and stuff like that. So with you with Excel, your newest EP that came out. Listen to it today.
Hmm.
Very good, very vulnerable. Uh, and I feel like a lot of it is tied to your role as dad and your relationship with your son and the things that you kind of been to. Can you tell the people a little bit about like kind of like where that album kind of, or where that EP is actually coming from, and like what that expression was for you in like a therapeutic sense, and even like just like your artistic sense?
Yeah, so actually the name itself is what I was saying earlier, like just an exhale, like getting all of that off of my mind. Like taking it's like you hitting a joint, think about life, taking in all of that smoke, all of the things you're going through, and then when you breathe it out, now it's done. So it was kind of me just getting it off my chest, out of my lungs, just an exhale. Now I can breathe type deal. Because I've been making music about this situation in my life for, the entire time. But it halted because I don't want to put it all out. Like I said, I make music for me. So in the end, some stuff is just for me. I don't release it. So these were small pieces that I felt like would quote unquote best describe what I was going through, how I felt, you know, and where I was mentally, to those who might not even know, but to also those, like you said, who are going through it themselves that I newly met from expressing what I'm going through as a dad. Um, yeah, a lot of great records, man. A lot of a lot, like for the record, like we were speaking about prior to the podcast, like one of my favorite songs was C5, touching on bases. And then even ended on a high note with the track with Burner. Shout out Burn, us having our collab with Cookies, and also I have my brother Major on there. What other songs, man? It's funny. Like, let me look at it. Sorry to do that to you, but I
No,
definitely love
this
to
is
give.
good. If you guys haven't listened to it, go check it out on it's on all platforms. I listen to it on Spotify, XL, and it's Marty Grimes. You can check it out and you can hear it. I have a question for you with it. So for people that don't know, you've been very open with your journey as dad. I believe you're at day 1,106, or is it 7? Of fighting to be a
It's
father.
7 today, yeah.
You used a reference in For the Record of that resonated with me immensely, and I think a lot of dads go through this when they have to go through the family court system. Is you have this feeling when you're going through this whole process, like that you have to prove yourself worthy of being a father. And I think your line was like, "Why do I have to fight to be a dad, Your Honor?" Like this is so like I don't know. You could probably articulate it better than me from where your perspective was with it, but that line really spoke to me more than anything else that I think that stick out for that song specifically, because it's so real and so many people like to be in that kind of position to where like like you've done nothing wrong, you've been there, you've supported. It's just the circumstances that be where now they're separate, and now you got to say to this person who doesn't know you from Adam, who doesn't know your upbringing, who doesn't know anything about you, you got to prove to them that you are worthy of being in this child's life. It's a bizarre kind of like experience.
Man, it's literally what you just said. It's like, why do I have to fight to be a dad? I get a lot of comments that say, and I know it's out of good heart, but they say, I wish it was more dads like you that would fight for their children. And then in my mind, I would always want to, comment back. But sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, because I don't want to make it look like I'm, trying to, what am I trying to be combative, But in my mind, I want to respond with, why do they have to fight in the first place? It's like I feel like dads always get criticized for not fighting for their kids, for not being able to do A, B, and C, for not. But it's like, why? Why do they have to go through this? Nobody's asking that question. Nobody's looking at the core issue. They just look at the dad. You get it? So that's why I had to write that in there, because I feel like it's my right. It's our right in nature. That's my child. I shouldn't have like talking about my case. I shouldn't have to pay a guardian to watch me and my child, to tell the system that it's okay for me to be in his life. That's my child. How is this stranger that doesn't know me, doesn't know my child, won't be in his life, get to say if I can be there? And I had to pay this person. So a lot of and I had to pay like $5,000, over $5,000 for that. So imagine, a dad who's not necessarily in my position, they can't do that. So off the rip, now they can't even prove that they can be good to their child. Now they automatically blackballed. And off the rip, then it's like, okay, now you have to have supervised visits. Who got to pay for that? The dad. Now, what if you can't afford that? Then they can't even see their child, So, and it's, yeah. So that's why I had to put that in there, because it's a real question. Why am I fighting? Why am I not just a dad to my child?
Yeah.
It should be a law to where literally when a child is born, it should be 50-50 off the rip. There shouldn't be no paperwork needed. It should be just right there. The dad's there, the mom's there, the DNA is 50-50, period. I shouldn't have to go to court and to get a piece of paper when that's mine. I
Yeah.
cut the cord. I was in there, So
Right.
yeah,
And I
man,
know
that's I can go deep
you've
on
been
that line.
very, I appreciate you for sharing this stuff, because you've been very like open about it. And for me, I've had similar journeys. I know I've talked to different dads all around the country that have had similar experiences too as well. And it is hard. It's hard. It's a mental tornado that you constantly have to go through, of you got all these inner emotions and fighting of like, I'm fighting to be a dad when I want to be a dad. I am a good dad, but I have to prove to you that I am a good dad. And seemingly it's like nobody else is being held accountable in these situations. It's just me. It's
Yep.
just this person. And ultimately, who pays the price? is the child. Like I always, say that, and so many other dads would resonate with me. They're like, I'm not doing this to prove my worth. I'm not doing this to prove my value. I'm doing this because this child deserves a father, and I'm
Thank you,
that
bro.
father. And it
And that's the
just,
part that I feel like is overlooked,
yes, no, yeah, like it is something that I think that is overlooked and really undervalued, because you have all these statistics, right? People love using statistics about Black fathers not being involved with their kids, Black fathers not caring about their kids, Black fathers not living in the home, and all these other things, right? But nobody ever talks about what we're talking about, and the statistics that show when a father is involved in their child's life, how well they do in education, how well they do in sports, how well they do in all these other aspects that they continuously measure as the metrics of what qualifies them as
Mm-hmm.
a great kid, or somebody that is of well development. And that is directly tied to the relationship with the father and their involvement in the child's life. And for me, like I try to find other ways to express this to people as well and express this message. But I think what you've done with Excel, it's twofold for me. Like, I think that you do a really good job. Like, it's a great legal argument for me. Like, I look at it as like, he laid it out here pretty clear on like how ridiculous this is. But also you do a great job of like almost like putting your arm around a fellow dad and being like, yo, man, it's going to be okay. Like, I know what you're feeling. I know what you're going through. Keep going
And
and
that's
keep
what I
pushing.
was gonna say too. You know what? The song is actually "It's Okay." I actually swapped it out. So for the record, I did also talk about like in depth about like being on the record. But that line is actually from "It's Okay." I remember that was a
Yeah.
single that I put out on Gala Music like a year ago. But Gala Music is an NFT platform, so it didn't go to all the DSPs. And everybody loved that song, and I was just like, I have to release this to the world. So that's why I dropped that on XL with Mr. Fab. Shout out Fabby Davis. Our first song together. But that song was actually a lot for me too, because like you said, going through this, you are fighting to not only be a father, but you fighting to stay yourself. Man, like you feel a lot of emotions that want to take you out of character. You feel a lot of emotions that put you in a feeling that you're not normally in, and I'm blessed to have the circle around me, blessed to have the quote unquote job I do, to be around the people that I am and the energy that I get to help keep me uplifted. But for sure, I could say like a lot of other dads, there was definitely moments where I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to do work. I didn't want to talk to nobody. I didn't want to eat. You know what I mean? I didn't want to go work out. And the only thing that really got me out of that in the end was, if I don't get up, what about my kid? If I don't go work out, if I don't go handle my business, if I don't get this check, I can't see my son. I can't be able for him. I can't continue to do this for him. And that was the double-edged sword, because you feel like, sorry, excuse my language, you feel like dog shit, but you ain't got no choice. You got to get up and get it done for them. So, the battle is so deep, man. So I wanted to put that out to let people know it's all right. It's a lot of people feeling like you still able, use your mind. You got to work on that first. That's why I work out so much. It's not even for my physical, it's up here. I can cut my phone off, go work out, breathe, detox, and keep moving. So yeah, let everybody know it's okay, because I didn't I've I've actually helped some fathers, not commit suicide from going
I
through this.
believe it.
When I first started to speak about this, bro, my DMs were just booming, and I was just blown away because I was just confused. I'm like, why is this so quote unquote common, but you don't really hear about it? One dad was furious. I won't speak on his name, but the story was he got both of his kids taken away from him by his ex. And not only did his younger son drown in her care, she, taught her daughter to hate him, as she got older. So and I had to speak to him and give him some kind, wise words to not walk himself off. And something like that I couldn't even imagine. And it's sad to say this, he made my situation lighter.
Yeah.
It's so sad to say that, bro,
Yeah.
because when he told me that, I felt like I wasn't going through shit. For that second, I was like, how could I complain? And that sucks to
Yeah.
even think about, like it's like taking the lesser of the shits,
Yeah.
so
No,
yeah,
bro.
we got to
You're
tell each
saying,
other it's okay.
yeah, you really do. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this organization, why we've done this foundation for so long, is because there is that other side of it of like, we need each other in this. We need to share our stories with each other. We need to talk about this with each other, because you start to, I won't necessarily, I get what you're saying with like, you do, because like I've dealt with the family court system since my son's existence. Okay, like I've been in and out. I'm in court right now. Like, so like that is, it's like almost been like a part of my life, or the journey of my son's life, and it's something that really eats at me on the inside, because my son has had to, as he's gotten older, and been like, oh, it's like this time again, you know, and it's just like this like constant battle that like you can never win. But then like, you know, with starting this organization and talking with different dads like yourself and like so many others around the country, you just hear things and you're just like, this is crazy. Like, how is this possible in the United States? Like, how are you allowed to do this? How are you allowed to get away with this? And the impact that you're having on these children by just allowing these type of situations to just go unchecked, and it's something that it's hard to talk about, right? Because as dads, as men in general, as black men, when you get really specific, if we speak up about what our concerns are, there's heavy penalties usually for that, right? Like, it's something that is a challenge that we face. Then you add in the element
like
of,
we were saying,
no,
I was
go
just gonna say,
ahead.
like the way you speak about it too, like unfortunately unfortunately, like for organizations like your own, you know, that have come out because of how common and often this has happened, and with nobody speaking out, others didn't have anywhere to go. You can Google something fast for a mom to come find information, find somebody to talk to, an organization to advocate for them, pay for this, pay for that, make sure they're housed, make sure they do that. They don't have that for fathers, you know. So when a dad is going through something like that, he's really just like, if I don't pay, there's no way. You know, and like now it's more information, which is, you know, a blessing. But prior, it's like, where am I going to go? Who am I going to call? Because immediately off rip, it's like, oh, the mom's right. The mom gets the baby. What's your problem? What did you do? That's what it
Right.
always is, you
Yeah.
know? So
It's the inherent bias that I think is probably the most detrimental piece to the American family dynamic, is when you go through which is, I think you had put up a statistic today. I don't know if you said, did 1 in 4 Americans, was that you that like put that up in the post? It was
yep,
like 1
yep.
in 4 American children
hmm
like have gone through the family court system. Is that correct? Is that what that was?
No, they grow up they grow up fatherless.
They
18
grow up
million.
fathers, right? Okay, so like what that tells me is like we have a problem, but the way that we're looking at the problem is, well, it's the dad's fault, and that's maybe, I'm not saying that that's not, that there may be, there's some, because I always say with this foundation, like, because I know that there are people that are dads that are not like you or not like me, that unfortunately made the choice to not be there for their kids. I'm
Of
not
course.
discrediting that and
Yeah.
saying that that doesn't happen. It does happen, but that's not everybody. And that, I don't, genuinely, in my experience, not only just as a black man, as a son of a black man, but as a director of a nonprofit that is specifically related to fatherhood, that is the minority. That is not the majority. The majority are the ones that are doing everything they can, like yourself, jumping through all of these obstacles and loops and being
hmm
super dads just to be able to get a fraction of the time that they actually deserve. And
Yep.
it's something that I think I would like to see more politically spoke about, from our politicians and from leaders of this country. I would love to see them talk more about the family court system and how it needs to be improved, and what their plans are to make sure that fathers have these rights, same as anybody else. But
Well,
uh,
honestly, I feel like organizations like yours, bro, and other organization, Fathers' Rights Movement, etc. As long as we continue to like have more fathers like us, just start to speak up and really raise awareness. That's what makes change. Because I feel like the system is caught up in an old day. Like you got to think beforehand, it was the man goes to work, the wife stays home and take care of the baby, etc., etc. You know, and at any time, if there was a problem, what do? They give the child to the baby, knowing that the father was going to work all day if there was a separation, you know, and in the sense of women fought really fucking hard for their rights during this time, really fucking hard to make change. So in order for, unfortunately, to say this, we got to flop on the other side. If guys want things to change, we gotta talk about it. We got to advocate for change. We got to work hard. We got to raise awareness, because the more people see it, hear it, they gonna listen. If not,
yeah.
it's just gonna get drowned out by the
Yeah.
rest of the BS on social media. You
Right.
know. One other thing I wanted to say, because you sparked it in my mind when you started talking about, the law. It's sad that criminal court is taken so much it's taken more serious than family court. Why is so much money put in the criminal court instead of family court when all the statistics show that more criminals are made when families are broken? So why not put more money into the source of the problem? Keep more families together, keep the system more
You're
clean,
making
and
too
then you
much
won't have to worry
sense.
about
Yeah.
criminal court.
Exactly.
Like,
Like
come
make it
on,
makes exactly. You're just making too
it's
much sense with
backwards.
this. Yeah, it's really backwards, right? Like it's kind of like what I was saying earlier. It's like how all these statistics show that children do better when dad is involved in their life, yet you make it difficult for dad to be involved in their life, right? It's just that there's it's what it speaks to me is I'm not trying to say that there's like a conspiracy. I'm not going to even go to the links of like there's this overlying undertone of patriarchy or misogyny like what you see on social media. I'm saying that there's a broken system, and I'm saying also that our children deserve better than this. And if we can agree on those two things, then we can move forward with really making sure that we don't have to spend as much in the criminal justice system, that we can see the innovation that this country can have, that we can be the society that we want to be on the shining hill, right? Like we can do all these things, but I think it really does start with the family. And I think when you look at the American family, if you look at the family court system, it's no wonder that we are in the society that we're in when the system is ran like this and it's operated like this and it's grounded in these archaic beliefs and systems that could go back 100 years. Like it's like that
Yeah, it
we're
makes
in
no sense.
2025 now. It's a whole different world now. And like it's just it's something that you know wraps my mind forever. But this is I feel so bad because now we've gotten so far off of the topic of like you, but like we've been talking about such
No,
larger
this
things.
this still the topic of me, man. It's
Yeah, no,
definitely what I'm
I
living,
know, it
you
is the
know?
topic of me too. But like
And
the
this is
question that
most
I like to
important,
ask dads
you
about
know?
themselves, you're like you're bound, like you're doing your things, you're doing music. You also have your cannabis line of tools, utensils. How would you?
Well, it's a paper and glass line. So I
Yeah,
partner with a bunch of cannabis brands, and they use my product, but it's a bunch of glass custom pre rolls, tips. Also have paper kits, working on some new products like that new collab with cookies, the Pocket Rocket tip. It's a lot of fun, innovative stuff, man. I have a channel called Marty's Gizmos and Gadgets because I get a lot of free stuff from all the brands that I work with, knowing that I love all this fun stuff. So I always just showcase it all, and it just turned into like, why don't I make something too? Like, I'm having fun with all of this shit. Let me create something fun. And then I did it, and all of a sudden it turned into a brand after I hit like probably 30, 40 million views. A bunch of friends and people were like, yo, this is something. You should make it into something. It was just fun for me. But
yeah.
now we're here, the Marty Missile.
So when you are a artistpreneur, that's what I would like classify you as.
Yeah,
And
100%.
so when you go to bed at night, and this is a question I always ask the dads, you're laying in bed, you're looking at the ceiling because I know that that's how your brain is because that's how everybody that's in your space is. And you're thinking about what is that thing? Like what's next? Like what is that thing that's in your mind that you're thinking about at night right now?
Usually what I have to get done the next day. You know
Mm,
what I mean? That's usually what I'm going to bed thinking about, is just like, what do we do on tomorrow? What do we gotta execute? And then that's yeah, so I got a working brain, bro. No time to stop. So it's like I'm like, all right, what we doing tomorrow? Yeah, get it lined up, go to sleep with that on my brain, wake up, let's knock it out.
knock it out. The execution day
Yeah.
by day, you think that that's the strategy that leads you to the most success?
Well, I would say, well, definitely. Pre-planning, of course, not just winging it each day, but I like to think of what I'm trying to do as a brick house. I got a pile of bricks. I need to build this house. I'm not gonna do it in a day, but as long as I get these chunks up, eventually it'll be built. So as long as I stay consistent, yeah, we'll make it all the way.
Yeah.
So
What do you think is the most important attribute that you have to have being a dad and being an artistpreneur?
the most important attribute, um, I'm gonna say time management.
Okay.
Because you have to make time to grow the business. You have to make time to stay creative, have energy, but you also
Yeah.
have to make the time for, raising your little, making sure that you're doing right by them and teaching them, helping them grow. Um, yeah, time management. Making sure that you don't neglect either or, because you have to give the majority of the time to your little, you know.
Yeah.
So, but at the
Yeah.
same time, to make sure their future is secure, you got to grow the business. So it's like time management.
Yeah. Time management is so key. Like I like are there tricks that you have with balancing being dad and, pursuing these ventures at the same time?
Taking advantage of those naps. When he's napping for 2 hours, gotta go to work.
I'm so glad you said it.
Gotta get it
Oh,
done,
he sleep. Thank God. All right, now I can get
Like,
to this.
it's not even a thank God. It's just like, oh, he sleep. All right, let me just do this real. Let me get this done. Let me go over here
Bro,
and
right
handle
now
this.
for
So
me,
that
it's a
way,
thank God because like a 14-month-old, I was like, yo, like praise Jesus, this boy has gone to sleep because you have to be so much on top of like a 14-month-old to
brother,
make sure they're
I
not putting.
agree.
His whole thing is
Yeah, if he was still
explore.
that
What is
little,
it? I'm gonna put it in my mouth, and I gotta like. So I'm constantly cleaning. I'm constantly picking up the stuff. So it's hard to do the day to day like operation logistical things when you have that. So when he's asleep, I totally feel that with you. I'm like, oh, it's go time. Like I have to get things going because I only got a little bit of time before this man wakes up again, and then I'm gonna be chasing him around this house,
exactly. And
trying
it's
to
go
figure
time.
everything out. So I get that. Like I do love that for everybody that's thinking that I was like, oh, does he like not want? No, I love my son. I love it, but it's a lot when you're trying to do all this stuff and he's running around. Have a 14-month-old, y'all. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you
Plus,
think.
we got a disclaimer, y'all. We are in the same position, but with my younger, and I'm just now getting this time. I guess that is an amazing silver lining too, because every single moment I fucking cherish. I don't care if you're throwing a temper tantrum, arguing, etc. I have the biggest smile on my face looking at this little man. Like, I'm so happy to be here with you. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's the only difference. When it comes to every day, I'm sure it'll be like, oh, thank God he's asleep. I can get something done. Right now I have 3 extra weeks out the month to get so much work done. So I really take advantage of that time. So when I'm with him for that week, my phone is damn near off until he sleep. You know what I mean? We got shit to do. We trying to learn. We trying to go to the zoo, the park, the pool. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, I try and make sure that time is uninterrupted.
That's beautiful, man. That you get to like be able to optimize it like that and having that just like that perspective. It really does. Because with my oldest, it's very similar. Like I don't get him all the time, and like I try my best to make sure that when I do have him, like that we're really like using
Locked
that
in.
time to do and spend as much time together as possible. Um, do you? Well, I mean, he's 3, so I guess like the conversations and like are with the 3-year-old, so he's like still like learning and still growing and stuff, but like one of the things I guess, like, let me ask you this: why is it important for you to build your dream?
Because I want him to grow and see what's possible. I want him to get older and be like, damn, look what my dad did. Like, I could do that. You know what I mean? And of course, I'm going to always tell him, you could do better. You could be bigger. You could be greater. You could do more. So if I give him something to look at that's already great, that's already huge and gigantic in his eyes, and I tell him that it's small in comparison to what he could do, he's going to be greater for sure.
Yeah.
So I gotta
Yeah.
build something that he could look at and be like, God damn.
Yeah. My dad did this. My dad did this. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
My dad did it to me.
Yeah. No, likewise, brother. Like, yeah, it's like it is a legacy that is, I think, the most important thing. And people, it's so funny because like you're a very ambitious, creative, driven person, and it's very easy for people to codify that as self-indulgent, right? But when you really understand, you see that like, no, I'm sowing seeds into my children's life so that they can do more and be better than even me, and do, which is what I think every dad wants. Like, is that would that be a fair way to like kind of like express like kind of what you're doing?
Of course. Yeah. Like, before I had a son, yeah, it was all for me. Like, in the sense of being able to build my life so I could take care of the ones around me and my family. Those who know me know that it's like, let me say this. A lot of people might confuse self love with selfish. You have to work on yourself more then you can help work on others. Because if you ain't solid, how can you help somebody else be? And in the end, if they ain't helping themselves, you can't really do nothing anyway. You know what I mean? So, um, yeah, I feel like a lot of people. Damn, that is a great question, bro. Because if you don't know me, it depends on yourself. I guess it depends if you are a person that sees certain things as motivation, sees things as light inspiration, then you will look at me and understand what I'm trying to do, where I'm trying to grow and build. But if you're a person that walks around on some me too, I wish I could have did that type deal, or you know what I mean? Like you might look at me and be like, oh, he's all about himself and self-centered.
And I
Because
wasn't necessarily saying necessarily you specifically, but I just know
no, I
like
know I was just
in
okay,
general,
okay, gotcha.
like with artists in general, like people look at it as like, like I'll use me for an example. Like I know personally people that have thought like what I was doing, even with a nonprofit called Black American Dad, that is like, oh, this is just like his like way of like centering something around him. When I started this whole foundation to show my dad how much I loved him, and I was like, this is what you meant to me, you know? And so like that's why I was saying that. It was like when you're so driven and you know what you want, and you people that are not like that genuinely look at it as like, well, that person is just selfish and they just like only care about themselves or want to be the center of attention or things like that, versus like, nah, like there's a way bigger play here. You just see this part and you haven't done the due diligence to kind of.
Well, I say that's a reflection of self. Like we
Yes.
saying the exact same thing for sure. Because somebody who's doing like something similar to what you're doing, maybe not in your field, etc., they can understand. But someone who's just envious and not they don't really think and they're not driven the way you are, yeah, they'll look at it a different way. Because when you said that, I was like, oh, the world is nuts, bro. You're doing something to help fathers, black fathers in America, and the first thing somebody thinks is he's doing this for himself. I don't know, bro. That's kind of wild. That's
And yeah, I
sad.
mean it is, but and it doesn't affect me, and I'm sure it doesn't affect you when people probably say things about you, and it shouldn't. It just, like I said, like there's so many things like as dads that we have to like battles that we have to even like something like that, right? It doesn't really affect us, but it's still something that's like, okay, like whatever, like this person's got to say this or say do this. We have to fight so many battles and still come home and be dad at the same time
With a smile on your
with a
face.
smile on your face.
You got
And
to.
yeah, and it's just like it it's like, man, like people really don't understand like what it is like. It's like it is a struggle, but it is a brotherhood, it is a fraternity when you talk to other dads, because immediately they get it and like, no, I know exactly what you're talking about, I
Hmm.
know exactly what you're going through. And it's just like so great to be able to like talk with guys like yourself and like hear more about your story, and like it makes
Yeah,
me
you
feel
get to
better.
walk away lighter, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. The
yeah,
same thing, bro. And for me, I love these conversations because I get to remind myself. We feel a certain way, but sometimes we got to hear ourselves say it to remind ourselves that okay, we actually will be okay. We know what we're doing. We on this path. When you don't get to talk a lot, just talk to a lot of people about it. So yeah,
yeah.
100%.
So this is the last little bit of the podcast. I like to leave this open to the dads. Where can people find out more about you, get more information, talk about like some of the glass that you've made, talk about the music that you've done? Listen to Excel. I'll tell you guys that one. Excel. Excel. That's what you need to listen to.
Come on.
Just go ahead and shout everything out.
Yeah, yeah. If y'all want to check out any of the music, any of my band, it's martymissile.world. That'll take you to the music. That'll take you to the merch. That'll show you all my custom glass right there. If you on Instagram, it's Marty_Grimes. If you on Twitter, it's Marty Grimes. And the Marty Missile is my other. Um, yeah, I'm on all DSPs, y'all. iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, etc. Marty Grimes, MartyGrimes. And for the fathers, at the Great Fathers, go to that Instagram. I'm starting it up. I'm sharing all stories too. I would love for any fathers and yourself, if you got anything you want to put on my platform, I want to
Absolutely.
share more stories, raise more awareness, man. Let's make something amazing for the kids, for the world, and make a change. Because I feel like me, you, starting with one apiece, that could grow to millions, and then we can actually make some change. I'd rather leave my
Yeah.
mark on America like that, on this world like that, most of all.
100%.
You know?
100%, man. Teamwork makes the dream work. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen.
Yeah,
And thank
yeah.
you guys so much for listening to another episode of the After Bedtime Podcast, brought to you by the Black American Dad Foundation. Marty Grimes has been amazing. Stay tuned for the next episode where we follow another great Black American dad.
Yeah. Shout out BAD.
Thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of After Bedtime, brought to you by the Black American Dad Foundation. I hope that you were just as much inspired as we were listening to another great dad with his amazing dreams and how he's balancing being dad at the same time. If you want to know more about the Black American Dad Foundation, you know a dad that'd be great for the show. You want to ask that dad that was just on some questions about his business or his dreams and how he's doing it. Maybe you want to get a little bit more information. Email us at blackamericandad@gmail.com, subject line it After Bedtime, and then go into a little bit more of what you want to know. Other than that, thank you again for listening to us, and hopefully you are inspired. Good night, and we'll see you on the next episode where we follow another great Black American dad.